Hi guys, I'm Rebecca Natalie Fien, and I created EmpowerOurSisters.com and my Kickstarter campaign in order to empower all women. I want to tell you why, and I've taken this video so many times and I just need to get it out, and I think just being open and honest, which is my goal anyway, is the best approach. So I went through a really challenging time 8 months ago. I've gone through many challenging times in my life, and I've done things that still need working through, but this particular moment changed my life in a way where I realized I need to empower women all around me to feel the love and support that I need and that I sought out and that I now take and give and love and share. 8 months ago, I had my son, Evan, and he was a VBAC, which is a vaginal birth after cesarean. I had a cesarean section with my first son, and my husband and I decided that we really wanted to try to have a natural birth. We want a big family, and you know what? It's not really anybody's business why. We just wanted a VBAC. I wanted a VBAC, me. And so I was with a practice who was only going to give me till 39 weeks, and then they were going to force me to have a C-section. I did eventually convince them to let me go to 40 weeks, but that wasn't okay because Jack came at 41 weeks, my 3-year-old. So he was late. The chances that my second son were going to be late was pretty high. So I switched to a midwifery group at 32 weeks, meaning I was only 2 months till delivery. I didn't really bond with anybody there, but not anyone's fault, just because I switched so late in the game. I didn't get to know anybody really on a personal level. There were many midwives. I saw a different one each time. My delivery was traumatic. I had my VBAC. I had no drugs at all. Natural labor, natural delivery. Evan came out with his hand up like this, and I tore extensively. And like, that's so shamed upon. People don't like to say that. I'm sure that people in my life are going to be like, oh my God, you just said tore. Yeah, I freaking tore. I tore really bad, not in a way that normally women tear when they have babies. I mean, some do the same way I did, but I happened to tear like up and in, and I won't get into too much about that, but it affected a lot of things. I lost so much blood, I had to have a blood transfusion while in the hospital because of losing consciousnness. I had to come home with a catheter because the damage internally kind of swelled up my bladder. Sorry. And so I had to come home with a catheter. I had to carry around a little bucket, one of Jack's buckets, and I had a big hose on it. And my 2.5-year-old didn't understand why mommy couldn't play with him. Who's this new baby? What? Just he wanted mommy, and I couldn't. I was in so much pain, and I was so embarrassed, like so embarrassed. I didn't tell anybody. I made my husband not tell anyone any details. I even like told people bits and pieces, or like made up slightly different variations because I was like thinking maybe that sounds less bad, or like maybe they won't think I'm so gross, and I don't know, I had all these like weird feelings. I just was so scared to share. And while in the hospital though, these women, these nurses, and a doctor too, and just they empowered me to feel good about myself for advocating for myself. And I had a couple nurses who I love dearly, and I didn't know, but I know now, and they just reminded me how beautiful I was every day while I was there, and just empowered me to keep my head up and love my beautiful baby and love myself. And it was hard, and I certainly didn't at that time, but they were there encouraging me. And then I left, and I developed a bladder infection a couple days later. I had to come back and try to pee for like 12 hours one day. I was in the hospital with my husband and the newborn baby, and all I had to do, my job was to pee, and I couldn't leave till I peed. And I finally peed, but yay. I left and went home, and then a few nights later I developed a bladder infection and had to go to the hospital in the middle of the night to the emergency room with my newborn baby, and it was just awful. It was freaking awful. I'm still not healed. I still have pain when I walk for long distances, when I stand up for too long, and sometimes just when I think about it. I emotionally after was not doing well, but like I said, I didn't want anyone to know. I was so embarrassed. So my sister recognized that I really needed like help, and she suggested a postpartum doula, and I hired one. She was great. I couldn't afford her for long, but one thing she did, like, just sort of opened things up, and then I started reflecting on the nurses and doctors and that had talked to me while I was in the hospital, and just sort of, she reminded me that all women go through this who have babies. We all have our own stories. Some of us have more traumatic ones than others, but like, it's part of life, and childbirth is can be very difficult. It is difficult. It's taxing on our bodies, and women go through so much that just not addressed. And I didn't know that there was a risk that things like what happened to me would happen. And they are rare. Don't freak out. They're rare. But, you know, they do happen, and being aware about them and sharing them is important. So I started to share my story. The doula suggested that I talk to other women in my life, and I did. And I started opening up, and I started sharing my story to people who didn't even have kids. And then they were sharing about things that were deep to them, and that were affecting them, like divorce and death and fears that are deep rooted that you don't bring up to just anyone. But by me opening up and sharing something so incredibly hard for me, that they were able to share too. So that is what my mission is with Empower Our Sisters. I want people to be able to open up, women, and know that we're here for one another, and that we are here for support and guidance and strength, and that we are all strong. And sometimes we fall, and sometimes, you know, this was something that happened that was rather unavoidable. There's been times in my life, though, that I've made really poor choices that I regret, and I think about, and I dwell on, and I won't share because I'm so embarrassed about maybe a particular choice I made, or an action I took. And I'm just realizing, like, it's really important to address those and to talk about them and to work through them. And that's what Empower Our Sisters is. So I've started this Kickstarter campaign. I sell t-shirts. It's not about the t-shirt, though. It is about the message. This is just a vehicle. My Kickstarter campaign is to raise money to be able to donate a portion of all sales to women's organizations worldwide. I want to build a database where it's filterable and searchable. You can choose domestic violence shelters in New Jersey, and you come up with the shelters that you might want to donate to. You really go that specific. And we'd build this database of all these organizations, and just by buying one of my t-shirts, you're going to positively affect a woman. And it's just so cool. Like, it can come full circle, and we can develop this community of empowering women and talking and sharing, and wow, like, this could be really awesome, and I really want to do this. So that's what I'm doing, and that's why I'm doing it. And I encourage you all to share your stories, and I'm here to listen and talk, and I just want this to be the first day of some, like, really cool, awesome stuff. So I love you all, and Empower Our Sisters. Bye.